Most AI agents trying to control your computer are doing it the hard way, staring at screenshots like a human squinting at a monitor. Alibaba's Page Agent doesn't look at your screen at all. It reads the underlying structure of a web page directly, the way a browser engine does, manipulating the document object model, the DOM, as a native data structure. The result is faster, cheaper, and arguably more reliable than anything built on vision models. And as of June 2026, it's fully open source, MIT licensed, and pluggable into any agent framework through the Model Context Protocol. Page Agent is a JavaScript-based GUI automation agent developed by Alibaba. It operates inside the browser environment, interfacing directly with web page elements through the DOM rather than relying on pixel-level screen capture. The project reached 21,689 GitHub stars and shipped version 1.10.0 on June 15, 2026, a release that included a beta MCP server, a detail we'll unpack shortly. The MIT license is significant. It means anyone, startups, enterprises, independent developers, can fork it, embed it, modify it, and ship it commercially without restriction. Alibaba is not gatekeeping this technology. They're seeding an ecosystem. To understand why this matters, you need to understand how most AI agents interact with computers today. Tools like Anthropic's Computer Use or OpenAI's Operator work by taking screenshots, feeding those images into a vision language model, and having the model decide where to click. It's ingenious, but it's expensive. Every action requires an inference call on a large multimodal model. It's slow. Image processing adds latency at every step. And it's fragile. Change a button's color, shift a layout by 20 pixels, and the agent can lose its bearings. DOM-based control sidesteps all of this. The DOM is the browser's own internal representation of a page, a structured tree of elements with explicit labels, attributes, and relationships. A button isn't a cluster of pixels. It's a node with a tag, a class name, an ID, and an accessible role. Page Agent parses this tree, identifies actionable elements, and executes operations directly. No screenshots, no vision model inference, just structured data manipulation. The performance gap is not marginal. DOM operations execute in milliseconds. A vision-based agent might spend 1 to 3 seconds per action just on the inference call alone, before any network latency. Multiply that across a 50-step workflow, filling forms, navigating menus, extracting data, and you're looking at minutes of difference. Cost scales similarly. Vision Model API calls for screenshot analysis can run several cents per image. DOM parsing is computationally trivial by comparison. For high-volume automation, think thousands of tasks per day, this cost differential becomes a strategic consideration, not just an engineering footnote. There's a reliability argument too that often gets overlooked. The DOM carries semantic information that pixels simply don't. ARIA labels, form field types, navigation landmarks. These are machine-readable signals designed explicitly for programmatic interaction. Page Agent leverages the same accessibility infrastructure that screen readers use. This is not a hack. It's using the web the way it was architecturally intended to be used by non-visual agents. Vision-based approaches are essentially reverse engineering visual output back into structure. DOM-based approaches start with the structure. Now, the v1.10.0 release. The headline feature is a beta MCP server. The Model Context Protocol, originally developed by Anthropic and now seeing broad adoption, is a standardized interface that lets AI agents discover and use external tools. By exposing Page Agent as an MCP server, Alibaba has turned it into a composable primitive. Any MCP-compatible agent, whether powered by Claude, GPT, Llama, or a custom model, can dynamically connect to Page Agent, and use it to control web interfaces. The agent doesn't need to know how web automation works. It just calls the tool. This is the difference between a standalone product and infrastructure. Page Agent stops being Alibaba's automation tool and becomes a browser control layer that any agent orchestration system can plug into. This composability is where the real implications live. The industry is converging on a pattern where complex AI workflows are assembled from specialized components. One agent reasons, another searches, another writes code, another controls interfaces. MCP is the connective tissue. Page Agent, with its MCP server, slots into this architecture as the web interaction specialist. A planning agent powered by a frontier language model can delegate browser tasks to Page Agent without any custom integration code. It's modular, it's swappable, it's exactly the kind of primitive that builders shipping production agent workflows need. Reliable, fast, and cheap enough to call thousands of times without budget anxiety. Page Agent is not without limitations. Heavily dynamic single-page applications that render content through JavaScript frameworks can present DOM trees that are deeply nested and semantically opaque. Canvas-rendered elements, common in design tools and some modern applications, have no DOM representation at all, which is where vision-based approaches retain an advantage. Anti-bot detection systems may also flag DOM manipulation patterns differently than they flag human-like mouse movements simulated by vision agents. The beta status of the MCP server means the API surface could change. Builders should integrate with that caveat clearly in mind. Zoom out. What Alibaba has done with Page Agent represents a broader thesis playing out across the AI tooling landscape. The best agent infrastructure won't always be the most sophisticated. Sometimes it will be the most grounded, using existing protocols, existing web standards, existing structures rather than building expensive perception layers on top. The MIT license, the MCP integration, the DOM-first architecture, these are deliberate choices that prioritize adoption, composability, and developer ergonomics over proprietary advantage. 21,000 GitHub stars suggest the developer community has noticed. The question now is how quickly this pattern, structured control over perceptual control, becomes the default for web-facing agent systems. The tools are open. The protocol is standardized. What gets built on top of them is the next chapter.